the language to know that these investors were giving him money to start the startup. And I looked at that and I was like, oh, well, we're all builders. We can do that. So me and one of my best friends from Morgan decided to start our first business. So Morgan helped me build the network and have the relationships to start on my entrepreneurial path.
Nice. That is amazing. I would say the professors, definitely Morgan has a tendency to bring in the best. And so the professors are so intentional with how they educate you. They are very dedicated. When they see that you are tuned in and you're focused and you're driven and you know what you want, granted, college is a place where you find yourself, right? You're trying to figure out what do you want, but if you can lock in to know exactly what you want, and then you find that right professor that's like, yes, I'll support you. I know, for me, it was my INS, it's INSS professor, and that's where I learned how to do websites, and she was just like, you are so driven. You need to, I know. She said one day she would vote for me if I ran for the president. I was like, wait a minute, I don't know if I'm going that far. But for her to say that sparked so much confidence as well to just say, you know what? If she can see it, somebody else can see it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to stay driven. And I was working in college, and so it felt complicated. Like, how can I really enjoy my experience while working and still being able to be on campus and stay a part of all the networking events? So to have professors who care about you and encourage you when they don't even know what they're saying, right? But they know what they're saying, but they don't know how it impacts you. And so I would say the professors and the networking. Dr. Foster clearly is my girl. She saw me when I was in college. I didn't know. I knew I wanted to own a business, but I wasn't specific. I was like, what do I want to do? I was thinking of doing a t-shirt company in college. And she was just like, well, she gave me some great advice, like, don't, cut off your market, make sure you expand it, don't just limit yourself. And I was like, okay, this is good feedback. So to have those people like a sounding board, definitely influential for me.
And it sounds like also help you dream bigger, right?
Yes.
Jessica.
I would say, I'm going to add to this, not only that they encourage us, but they also didn't take our foolishness. So let me tell you, this is important. She's laughing the loudest, right? So all of us are charismatic people. We're big dreamers. And we've been successful in many things that we've done thus far. And so, yes, we got into school, and for us, some of us undergrad, some of us graduate program, we've already just, been successful. But I came to Morgan because I had hit a wall where I wasn't sure which way to go next. Everything that I thought that I wanted to do, I had already done. I know there was more for me out there, but I couldn't figure it out, and I was having this creative block. I didn't want to go to another arts program because I'm already creative. I already know how to do that. And the job that I came to Baltimore to do was requiring me to be more than creative. It was requiring me to be strategic and to be innovative in ways that I had never been before. And I was like, what did I just get myself into? Like, this check is great, it's help, but this is requiring a level that I have never experienced before, and I feel a little insecure. I have severe imposter syndrome, and it is killing me. So I was like, maybe if I could, my boss has an MBA, and she told me about a lot of things that she learned in school, and so I said, well, maybe I should enroll in an MBA program so that I can understand not how to master creativity, but how to master the art of business. And so that's what I'm learning in school, how to master the art of negotiations. They don't work with Dr. Foster. She is really firm, fair, and consistent. But I'm just saying how to negotiate, how to be strategic, how to get outside of yourself and think of the big picture and to play the long game. That is what I needed to work on and what I'm learning here. And since then, with people like Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Wells and many others, I've had many conversations with them where I'm like, I think I just need to quit, or I just need to, take this back. There's just so much going on. I don't know. And they will just be like, okay, well, this is your path. And they have pushed me, like you said, but they've also talked me out of the negative conversations I might have had with myself that it was making me get in my own way. And so it's just like, Jessica, you're either going to do this or you're not. And as a result, things like the pitch competition. Yeah. We had a homework assignment for the whole class with Dr. Foster where we worked on a pitch. I knew that I was going to take this seriously because I'm like, I really want to work on this. I never thought I would do pitch competitions, but there were ones offered with Baltimore Means Business, which is a program that's sponsored by Morgan, and other programs. And it's like every pitch competition thus far, I won. Yes. But I'm not saying that for accolades. I'm saying that because if they had not pushed me to be competitive, to know that I can be strategic and I can think that way and I can play on that field, I don't have to just reduce myself to being, no shade to artists. I love, I'm an artist forever, but I don't have to only be in the arts field. Actually, innovation and creativity is really needed in the boardroom. That's where it's needed, and that's where artists are needed, and that I have a place too. That's what I've learned being in this entrepreneurship world, that creativity is not reduced to music creating and painting and dancing, but that creativity is needed when you have to make quick decisions with a 30-second manager idea. And so I've been encouraging all my friends, you need to go learn business. That's where we fail. Contracts, that's where we fail. It's not that. We got ideas for days. We need to understand how to represent ourselves in a way that it doesn't matter what color or what gender or something, people know that we're about our business. Yeah.
So you learn business acumen in a culturally sensitive environment, right? That also helped you refine your skill set and keep you focused, is what I'm hearing, right? Well, and some of you have gone to more than one HBCU, and as we all know, like where we go, no matter what HBCU you've gone to, you get a lot of HBCU love because it's like family, right? So if you run into somebody who's gone in HBCU, there's a lot of pride. I mean, there's a lot of bear pride I'm sure when you run into somebody else who went to Morgan, but it's also what I love kind of using the different world reference is that, it's just like how people show up for each other and see each other. And so let's talk about HBCUs and really what you think HBCUs could do to really spur entrepreneurial growth in their communities and across the country from your perspective, right? How can we take it up a notch? Anybody can jump in on this.
So I don't know how real I could get today.
We like to, as you heard Dr. Graham say in the video, keep it real.
Yeah. Right. So I think as great as, as vast as culture can be at a HBCU, we have some things within our own culture socially that I think does prohibit us from helping each other. And that's just not in the social space, but it's also in the corporate space as well. I think within our culture, there is a lot of because of how our culture is raised, like my mother's side is Nigerian and African, my father's side is also African and in Spain, right? So for me, when we're raised in our environments, there are things called the color complexes and the colorism and the pretty privilege and all of that. And I will tell you from my own experience, it did not help me. It worked against me. And it is why I stayed independent so long, because in the corporate space, this does not necessarily translate to you're intelligent. One, because I am a woman, and then on top of that, because I'm a woman of color, but more so because I'm a woman. But for me, I think culturally, within our own culture on campus, there needs to be more emphasis on us putting that aside, because it starts here in college, right? You build those relationships, and then from there, you help each other in the corporate space or in the business space. And that might seem very small, but what does that have to do with business? But it does, and the women, you will know, we'll find out if you don't know now, but it is a thing, because men bro out after work, y'all go to the bars, y'all get to know each other. Women can't do that in the corporate space. Well, we can, but we can't, right? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Right, he knows. Yeah. If you're an entrepreneur, we know this more than I think anyone that works in the corporate space or has that executive title. It is a lot harder for us to do that. And I think on campus, if we had the talk, and instead of addressing it when we see it on Bravo, see, Dr. Foster know what I'm talking about, and on social media, I think it would help us bond more as women and men of color together to understand that colorism is real, but we don't have to stereotype every single person that we see, thinking that that is what they're thinking, that you think you're better, I'm not gonna help you because you're light skin or you're brown skin or whatever it is. Our culture is diverse, and that's the beauty of Black culture, is our diversity, right? Brown and Black culture, right? POC is not just, it's also Asian, as well. But for African Americans, it's very hard for us as it is. So to go into the real world as an entrepreneur or working in corporate America and still have to face those challenges, not just against people who are not POC, but also with each other, because somehow we end up competing with each other and looking at each other as the enemy because the opportunities are this small for us. So it is very hard to get there. And for someone like me, 15 years I've been doing what I've done as an entrepreneur, and I have one rule, and that is, I don't know if I could get that real, but
Get real.
I don't where I eat. So I'm really big on integrity and ethics, and I would never let any man or woman take that from me, being that I am stereotyped as the pretty, privileged, light-skinned Black girl. That is what it is. And so I won't let the hard work that I've put in from 17, 19 years old, working 3 jobs, taking care of my dad, while still going back and forth to New York with E, trying to figure it out, networking, getting the check, and finally saying, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm just gonna get the state check and I'm going to build my business, and forget what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like, forget about it, because the goal is to make money. And for me, the goal wasn't to be a multimillionaire. We talking like 08, 07, it was like, those dreams weren't still like now. I feel like they're vast. Well, you can be a millionaire now. The millennials are killing it. They like $1 million. Girl, I did that at 20.
Right, it sounds like be a billionaire.
Yeah, it's like be a billionaire
But what you're
Exactly.
saying, though, is that as a community, we have the power to
Yes,
break
to
a lot
break
of
those
scarcity
chains.
mindset, slavery mentality that has continued to keep us down,
Yes.
right, and divide us. And that division is what is preventing us from scaling, right? Because you see other communities that work together, other
Yes.
communities. So, like, what can we do to make sure that we are empowering each other, even in rooms and places and spaces? One of the things that I'm hearing you say, and I know I've experienced myself, is that we have the power to use our words in places and spaces where others aren't in, right?
Yes.
And to say, hey, I know, having that, use that sphere of influence to bring another Black entrepreneur in the space, another person, not allow people to talk bad about them or tear them down, because we're all doing the best that we can, right? And words ultimately have power.
Right, and also building an economic presence. I love my mother. Tough love, right? She's a tough love Black woman. But her mentality of go to Duke and all in certain schools is because she felt that economically I could meet people and network with people and go to and become a part of a community of different groups, because on paper I've done a lot, right? My mom rounded me out from arts, all throughout the arts. That's why I can appreciate you and all of that, so that when I went to a school like Duke, right, I would be able to meet those friends that were rich and had, the summer house and the, skiing in the winter and all of that. And I think if we had that same economic community here on campus, where I'm sure there are millionaires, maybe even billionaires that have gone to, well, I know for a fact billionaires. I mean, we have Howard, we have Morgan, but if we had that community of graduates that are millionaires and billionaires in that space, and have them not just come by to